Excited for everybody to be here today. We're going to be talking about how you can help your learners stay on top of their learning. And we're going to be joined today by one of Docebo's solution deployment managers, Adriano Acquaviva. Really excited to have you on the road to inspire, Adriano.
Thank you. Thank you very much and welcome everybody. Nice to meet you all. Let's dive directly into the presentation. My name is Adriano Acquaviva, Solution Deployment Manager, meaning that I help customers during the onboarding phase when you are setting up your platform. So this will be the first few months of your life in Docebo. I'm working for Docebo since a couple of years now, so I collected a lot of expertise from customers and from the onboardings that I did. Today we are talking about mostly notifications, and I want to introduce with some theory on what notifications are. So this is our main case question: what is a notification? And the answer, as usual, we look for it on Wikipedia. Actually, Wikipedia, when we ask for notifications, gives us the Holy See notification as a first result, but this is not actually what we are looking for. We look for the notification system in an IT environment. So we have a combination of software, hardware, we have a message to deliver, and we have a recipient, so the people that will receive this message. The composition of the message will be done according to the tools that we have at our disposal. Who are the players? So we have some actors involved in the preparation of these notifications. We have a sender, so someone that actually sends the message to a recipient. We have the message itself, so the content of the message that is delivered. And we have, of course, a recipient, and we have to find out the correct recipient for every of our messages. Of course, we were talking about an IT environment, so we must have some piece of hardware, and this is, well, hardware and software, and this is done by Docebo with our powerful tools. We want to see how to create a notification. Probably you already created a lot of them in your platform, but just to check again the steps in your admin menu, you will find the notifications and manage as an option. We can create the notifications based on many events that can happen in the platform, events related to users, to courses, coach and share, and a lot of other events, actually. The list is very, very long. You will probably not use all the possible notifications, and this is actually a good thing, but we do have a very long list in order to accommodate the needs for everybody. Who can send notifications? Well, the notifications can be sent by a super admin, meaning created. Actually, all the notifications are literally sent by the system, but the sender can be a super admin that can create the notifications with the rules that you just saw and that you used to create notifications in your platform. Power users also can view, create, or edit notifications. This, of course, if we give them the permissions to do so. The last possible sender for notifications is the system automation. So the platform itself will send automatically emails for user creation, for password resets, and for background jobs in order to tell you, for example, that an import of users has been completed in the platform. Who can receive them? We have different audiences, and these audiences are not all applicable to every kind of notification. But in general, we can say that the notifications can go to users, power users, instructors, so whoever is holding a classroom or a webinar, super admins, or managers. Managers are the figure that manage people. It's not a power user, but we can create a sort of hierarchy in Docebo by assigning a manager to any user. So those managers can eventually receive notifications to know about their team, how they are going. When is the other part of the notification. We have 4 timing options, and again, not all of them are valid for every notification, but in general, we can send the notification before or after an event occurs. For instance, I don't know, the beginning of a webinar, we can alert users before that. Or, I don't know, for the course that has expired, we can send the notification after the expiration of the course, so that we can alert either users that they missed a specific course, or maybe the manager to let them know that one of their users has missed the course. The other 2 possibilities are at the time of the event, so concurrently to the event itself. For instance, I don't know, a user creation, we can send immediately the notification. Or every, meaning that we can schedule some notifications. This is usually used for the digest. And it can be every hour, every day, week, or month. The digest notifications, we will come to it in a second. So the steps to follow to create the notifications from the menu that I showed you before are actually selecting the event. So exactly what is the trigger of your notification, composing the message, and I will show you some tips toward the end of the presentation about how to build and to create this message. Set the time trigger. This, of course, as I said, it will be dependent on the type of notification. Select the recipients. This means selecting first of all, if we want to filter the notification to just a group of users, a branch, and then the role that will be receiving the notification itself, being a user, a power user, super admin, instructor, or manager. In the end, we can decide if this notification should be limited to just a number of courses, or if it is specific to all courses in the platform. So important things to remember. You have, first of all, to select the language. Sometimes when you open the notification creation box, you just see an empty page. You have first to select the language you are dealing with in order to get the possibility to edit the content of the notification. Remember also to deactivate the languages that you are not actually using, so that the list of all available languages will be short. And this is because it would be better to have the notification translated in any of the languages that you are supporting. Otherwise, you will get the notification only in the default language of the platform. You can use HTML code. I will show you again later on, but remember, you can click on the source code icon in the editor. You can edit there the HTML code. So if you are familiar with this language, you can create any fancy look of your notification. And finally, deciding the type of notifications. During this presentation, we will concentrate on email notifications because that's, well, 90% of the customers are concentrating on this because we want essentially to deliver the messages to people that are not always on the platform. The other possibilities are in-platform notifications, so the bell icon that you see on the top right of the page. This will highlight a new message whenever a notification is fired. If you, of course, if you enable the in-platform notification, and Slack is the other possibility if you integrated Slack with your LMS. In this case, you can send eventually notifications to channels or to individuals. But to individuals, you must be sure that the integration of the platform was done before importing users in your platform. So that's the only thing to take care about for Slack notifications. How many notifications to send to the users? Literally as many as you need, but not too many. That's because we don't want to overwhelm our users with receiving tons of emails from us. They could be quickly thought as spam in that case. So we want to be sure that we send the very important messages to our users. Send a message for an upcoming course, for the fact that a user has been enrolled in a course or a learning plan, something really important. If you are planning to have many courses and to enroll users into many courses, maybe think about using digest notifications. Digest notifications send, as we saw, every hour, every day, or every week, a single notification with a summary of all the events that we want to show. We have, for example, course expiration, courses to be completed, enrollment into course. That's a very good one. You could send a single notification if you are having a lot of enrollments during the week. You can just send a single email to your users. Assets marked as outdated and courses marked as outdated. The assets, of course, are available if you use the Discovery Coach and Share module. I talked about possibility that the emails falls into spam. That's if we send too many of them. But how do we avoid the notification to fall into the spam folder? So here we go into a bit of technicalities. And the two keywords here are SPF, which is actually not the spam protection factor, and DKIM. Those are two ways to authorize basically the Docebo to send emails on your behalf. So the notifications at this stage are sent directly by Docebo servers, but the sender that will appear in the email address is the domain that you decide. This means that when the email goes through the internet and come into an email server, being your own, if you have an internal use case, maybe you have only your company mail server. But if you are sending notifications to external users, you literally don't know who is receiving them. For this reason, there are two ways to authenticate emails so that they don't fall into the junk email folder. This is setting an SPF record, so a sender policy framework record in your DNS, or use the DKIM feature so that we can use some keys to be placed in the platform so that the email will be even more authenticated. So when the email, the notification email comes to an inbound mail server, this server does some checks over the sender DNS, not Docebo, but the sender. And if they find the SPF record, they will know that Docebo is entrusted to send emails on behalf of this DNS. Putting together this information plus some reputation data that is found on other systems in the internet, the email will either fail or pass the check from the inbound mail server. And this could lead to 4 different scenarios. If the check is passed, the email will go into the inbox as normal. If the check is failed, we can have 3 different scenarios that only depend on the settings of the inbound mail server, so whoever receives the email. This mail could fall into the junk email, so that it is still visible to the users, but in the junk email. It could go into a quarantine, or it can be deleted immediately. Knowing this, we know that depending on the settings of each recipient, we can have situations where some users will receive the notification, some others will not receive. So we must be sure that the SPF and the DKIM are in place so that we are less likely to have this problem like junk email quarantine and deletion of the email. Now an interesting chart with the most used notifications. So this is to give an answer to every customer that asks which notifications should I implement in my system. So literally the most used one is about the enrollment to a course. So when a user is either enrolled by a super admin or do a self-enrollment from a catalog, for example, they will receive this notification. Users has yet to complete a course is in the 2nd place. Enrollment in a learning plan is on the 3rd place, also probably because we mostly have single courses in the platforms. I guess this could be the reason. The expiration of a course, a webinar session starting together with ILT session starting. This is, of course, a warning to the user, and we can see some examples. We can send this kind of notification sometime in advance, maybe 1 week before the actual webinar, just to remind them that you have this appointment, and then send another notification 1 hour before the webinar so that the user can be ready, maybe downloading the client tool and be prepared to get live into the webinar. An assignment has been evaluated. This is one notification connected to the learning objects, and the enrollment into a learning plan expiring soon. So those are the most used notifications from our history. Layout. Let's see how we can build the actual message. Some of the notifications already contain a template. I will show you in a knowledge base article. We have a list of all the notifications that already contain a template. But you may wish, in any case, to create your own template, or you have to build it because some of the notifications don't have the template, as I just mentioned. So how do we get a great notification design? We could have a very simplistic message, just a text in the email, not very appealing, but effective. You just have the link, press it, and go straight to the learning. We could use some fancy layout reminding us about the 80s, maybe. This other kind of notification is literally the opposite. too overwhelming, too many information, too many graphics. You cannot even read the message itself. Usually when I have to build notifications, I get inspiration from a newsletter that I receive every day. This is from Postman. They have designers that work on that. And of course, if you have designers that can work out the graphics, the HTML code, etc., that's absolutely fine. I'm thinking more about those situations when we have a one-man show that has to deal with everything in the platform. In my case, again, I get inspiration from the newsletter. Think about the different devices because we don't know where the notification will be looked on. It could be a desktop computer, but it could be the email client on a mobile phone, for example. So the text should be readable on any device. The font should not be too small, not to be readable on a phone, but not too big to be exaggerated on a desktop computer. Try to avoid using too complex HTML and absolutely avoid JavaScript because this probably will not work on mobiles because of restrictions on the operating system on those mobile phones. Also be careful about emojis because they probably don't work on mobile phones. My suggestion is when you build your notification to put it in one of the events that you can trigger and send it just to yourself so that you can check the outcome of the notification and how it will look on any of the devices that you can try on. About the subject, think about the fact that we are receiving, everybody, we receive hundreds of email, maybe even every day. We need to have a very strong subject that will push the users to actually open the email. And remember that the subject itself is actually a notification. Try to be clear, get straight to the point, so that eventually users will open the email and take the action that we want them to do. The sender is important when looking at your emails. So if you have a very defined domain, something that is meaningful for the users, they will be more likely to open the email rather than leave it in the mailbox to take dust. Emojis, again, besides the fact that they probably will not work on mobile, they can be fun, but they are usually used by newsletters from companies that want to advertise something, that they want to sell something. So if I look at my inbox and I see these kind of subjects, I know for sure that they are someone that is trying to selling me something. So I will probably just delete those emails without reading very quickly the subject, or maybe without even reading it. So don't use emoji for also this reason. The 4 bytes Unicode characters are not supported by the platform. So when you try to edit or create them in the notification will not work in any case. And a call to action, going into the message itself. It is important to have an action asked to the users. For example, in the most used notification, user has been enrolled in a course. Place a button to go straight to the course itself. And if you want to add this URL, you have 2 ways, basically. You can use the link icon, so type the text that could be something like click here. Don't use don't use as a text the name of the course or something like that. I will come to this point later on, but it suffices to say that if you use a not generic name, so if you go with the name of the course, you will need to create a specific notification for every course, because otherwise you will send wrong information. We can use the tags so that, for instance, this course link is a tag. It is a dynamic link that is created upon the course that generates the notification itself. So you can use this tag directly into the URL field or in the HTML code as href. Some use cases in order to see how we can use those notifications. The enrollment in a course, I already mentioned this, but the trigger is when an administrator or an instructor or maybe even a manager, so someone enrolls someone else in a course, in an e-learning course or a webinar session. Well, this is specific for e-learnings. But it's also triggered when a user self-enrolls from a catalog into a course that is, of course, free to enroll. We could send 3 different kind of notifications. So from the same event, we can create 3 different notifications. One directed to the user, just to have a confirmation of their enrollment. One to the manager, if we want to notify managers, if you have, for example, a structure where the manager should approve the enrollment or just check how many enrollments have been made by the users in their team. At the same time, we could use power user or whatever. And another example is to send it to the super admins. And this email to the super admins can fall into a personal mailbox so that one of the super admins receives it. But if one of the super admins is set with an alias or in any case a mailbox, an unmonitored mailbox, you could receive those notifications to keep track of all the enrollments, maybe do some statistics, or this could be a reason to send the notification to the super admins. If we have a course that needs to be completed in a certain amount of time, we can use the user as yet to complete a course notification. We could send it to the user to let them know about this situation, but we can also notify the manager so that eventually they could take an action on their users. One thing to note about this notification is that the time frame is from the enrollment time. So if you want the course to be completed in 10 days and you want to send the notification 2 days before the expiration, you will actually have to set it for 8 days after the enrollment. So this is just the technicality that you have to use to calculate when the notification will actually be sent. An assignment has been evaluated. I was mentioning this about the learning objects, learning object assignment. This learning object must be validated by an instructor or an administrator, and the user will wait for the results of this evaluation. So we can use this event to trigger a notification to the user, because of course they are waiting for this feedback, or eventually we can notify a power user, for example, that one of the users they are managing has received this evaluation. The evaluation itself is made by an instructor in the course, for example, so it's not said that it is the power user itself. This is the reason why we might wish to notify also a power user. But those are just examples, because as you see in the scope, you could also send it to the instructor itself or to the super admins. a webinar is about to start is another very important notification, because we want people to know that they have to log into the webinar. So we will send the notification, as I was saying, maybe one day before, just to get alerted, and 1 hour before the meeting, so that they can be prepared. You know probably that we can set a different entry time for the instructors, so that the instructor can enter the webinar sometime in advance to the users, in order to check that everything is fine, the technical solution is working, etc., etc. So you can create a second notification with a 2 hours in advance trigger, so that and this could be sent just to the instructors, so that they can enter the webinar and check that everything is fine. Now we are coming toward the end of the presentation, and I want to give you some tips and best practices that could be helpful to you. One of the most asked question I got is how to check that the notification has been sent. We are working on a reporting on that. I don't have any timeline about that, but so far, as a workaround, you can create an alias, as I was mentioning, and place it in CC in these email notifications, so that you receive an email every time a notification is sent. So you can check that at least the email was sent. This could help you troubleshoot any problem in receiving the email. So if you are not sure, even if the mail was sent or not, it could be difficult to get a troubleshooting. But if you have users claiming that the mail was not received, but you received it, 99% of the time it's a problem with the junk email. Delayed notifications. Even if I mentioned a trigger that is immediate at the time of the event, just know that sometimes this immediate means a couple of minutes. This could depend on background jobs, API, webhooks, events, where we have some time for the system to perform the actions. So don't panic if you don't receive the notification in less than 1 second. Wait maybe 1 minute. If then you don't receive, probably there is another kind of problem. Try to create notifications as generic as possible. I touched this topic in one of the previous slides. If you create notifications for every single course or for any single group of people, you will find at a certain point that you will have hundreds of notifications to manage in your system. So my advice is to keep it as simple as possible. Try to be generic, use the tags so that the email is composed automatically, and you can use the same email for any of the users in your platform. And use groups or specific courses only if you really have to, because otherwise in due time, maybe at the beginning it will not be a problem, but in due time you will end up by having literally hundreds of notifications. System notifications with multi-domain. Remember, if you have a multi-domain, you can send notifications to different kind of audiences. But for the system notifications, such as password reset or the background job, they are all sent by the email address that is in the advanced option of your platform. And this will be the same independently from the domain. So try to find an email address, a domain that is as generic as possible, so that it could work with anybody in the platform. For about notifications containing login credentials, when you create a notification with the tag password, know that that tag is not working always in the same way. You might think that this will send the password in plain text, but this is actually happening only when the user is created by an administrator, or when the password is actually set when the user is created. In some cases, for example, if you create users by uploading a CSV file and you don't explicitly set a password for your users, in this case, the user is created without a password. So the notification will change that tag from having the password in plain text to the link to reset the password. This will also happen if the email, the notification is sent after the creation of the user. For instance, you can, from the user page, you can resend the notification. In this case, for security reasons, because we actually cannot know if the user already saw the temporary password or not, we are sending the reset password link. About copying the source code, I was mentioning this. So when you find a notification template in one of the notifications and you like it, you want to use it in another notification that doesn't have a template, you can go into the email, select the language to display the notification itself, and press the source code button. Here you have the HTML code, the one that you can edit if you know some HTML language. And you can copy all the text and go into another notification that doesn't have, for example, a template, such as this one, go to source code and paste the code, the HTML code that you just copied. This way, the template will be generated. The only thing to be careful about is the shortcodes, so the tags that are used to dynamically fill the notification, because they are not the same for every notification. So you might have in the template that you copied, you might have a shortcode that is not valid for the notification where you are pasting the code. So just pay attention to this aspect. Some resources, those are in the knowledge base article. The knowledge base article about creating and managing notifications. It is our main resource, actually. You will see all the steps to create the notification itself, but I want also to show you this link that is opening a PDF containing every single notification available in the platform. This list can be very useful when you are planning your notification in advance. You have the event that is triggering the notification, a brief description that will describe better when the notification is triggered, the type of courses where the notification is applicable. For instance, a webinar is starting notification is applicable only to webinars, not to e-learning, of course. And we have all the time triggers available before and after, or maybe I will zoom a little bit, at the time of the event, before and after the event, or every, for the digest notifications that I was mentioning before. And here in this column, you have also all the available shortcodes. So you can check, for instance, if, well, this notification course has been deleted. Don't use the first name shortcode if you are copy and pasting one template, because it will not work, because the only available shortcode is the course name. If you leave the shortcode that is not available, it will be just shown as a plain text. So you will read first underscore name in the email body. We can see who the recipients can be in terms of a role that can receive the email, being users, power users, instructors, super admins, or managers. Some additional notes, if available, read them. If there is a template, when you see yes, it means that the template is already there. And visible to power user, when you see no, this means that this specific notification cannot be seen or used by power users, but only by super admins. The tips and tricks you find here are contained in the article. So I will not read all of this, but I will leave it for you in the presentation. And this comes to an end of the presentation itself.
Thanks a lot, Adriano. That was really great. I hope everybody on the call was able to take away a few nuggets to be able to help them with their program. I'm sure there's some folks that are on the call that maybe are a bit more sophisticated in their use of notifications, but hopefully even those folks were able to take away a few extra learnings from this. The chat was mentioning positively your use of GIFs, and I would have to say kudos to that. GIF game was very strong. There are a couple of quick questions that I want to go through before we wrap up today. Luis had asked for the invite to watch notifications. She's wondering, can we add a link to the coach and share asset we want to share in the system notification as opposed to the email?
Can we add the link to the coach and share asset? I believe that there is this short code. So I would say the answer is yes. In any case, the Discovery Coach and Share is undergoing a revamp. So I would check this in a couple of weeks because also the notifications related to Discovery Coach and Share will get some changes as well.
Great. In regards to email authoring tools, do you have any recommendations? Paul had mentioned that the HTML rendering in most email readers is a bit rudimentary compared to the browsers. So are there any recommendations for email authoring tools you might have?
I use a Visual Studio Code that is a free tool that you can download from the Microsoft website, and this is actually an HTML authoring tool. You can use it to build pages, but you can also use it for the code. The good thing of using this tool is that you have the IntelliSense that will help you to get the grammar of the HTML correct. Then the best way to check the different outcomes is to literally take the HTML code and paste it in Docebo. Also because the layout that is received by the user depends mostly on the tool, the mail tool they are using, because it can be not only the browser, but also a program like Outlook or Firefox. They have their own engine to display the email, but it's also on the sender side, so it's better to create the notification as is. One other tool that is that can be used is Dreamweaver. If you have, for instance, the Adobe suite, of course, this is not free, but it's also a great tool to validate email code.
Great. Let's wrap up with this final question. Is there a notification that can go to a manager of multiple learners who are past due on their training?
Okay, to a manager on multiple learners. I believe the digest, and we can check in that template if the digest learner has yet to complete can go to manager. So I would say this is the notification you are looking for.
Great. Well, Adriano, thank you so much. Quickly, I wanted to say that this session has been recorded and we will be sharing. So check your emails tomorrow and you will have the recording available to go back and review. Within that email as well, we will include a link to the knowledge base as well as the notification details, just to make sure that everybody has access to it. We hope you've registered, and if not, please do register for our final Docebo U-Style session of the Road to Inspire coming up on January 28th, all about how to leverage learning to drive upskilling. We're really excited about that session, and following that, we will have the session all presenting our Road to Inspire Learning Awards. I want to thank all of the customers on this call who did submit. There were some absolutely fantastic submissions this year, and we're really excited to share those with all of you. So once again, Adriano, thank you for joining us, and thank you to all the attendees who were able to participate in the chat and give us their questions. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.